De mistede, sådan lyder titlen på amerikanske Daniel Mendelssohns anmelderroste bog om hans jødiske families skæbne under 2. verdenskrig. Vi taler med forfatteren om holocaust og faren for at banalisere den store tragedie. Velkommen. Kan man redde sine familiemedlemmer fra glemslen og ydmygelsen efter, at de er blevet myrdet? Det spørgsmål løber som en rød tråd gennem den anmelderroste og prisbelønnede bog De mistede, som er skrevet af Daniel Mendelssohn.
Han blev født på Long Island i New York i 1960, og allerede som barn var han modsat resten af sin nærmeste familie meget optaget af familiens fortid. Inspirationen til bogen og bestselleren De mistede kommer blandt andet fra morfarens historier om at vokse op i en lille by i Ukraine med 7 brødre og søskende. Men det var især de historier, der ikke blev talt om, der fik Mendelssohn til som voksen at springe ud i en regulær slægtsforskning. Mendelssohn forstod for eksempel ikke, hvorfor hans gamle tanter og onkler græd, når de så ham. Det var først senere i livet, han fik at vide, at det var fordi han lignede sin onkel Schmiel Jäger så meget. En onkel, der sammen med sin kone og 4 døtre og hovedparten af de jødiske indbyggere i en lille jødisk by i Ukraine blev myrdet af nazisterne. I dag er Daniel Mendelssohn forfatter, journalist og underviser i klassisk historie. I bogen De mistede har forfatteren brugt 5 år på at finde spor af den myrdede onkels familie. Drivkraften er at bringe en sammenhængskraft ind i historien og redde 6 familiemedlemmer ud af glemslen.
Vi havde tidligere besøg af Daniel Mendelssohn her i studiet, og jeg spurgte ham om, hvorfor han har valgt at fokusere på 6 personers skæbne ud af 6 millioner.
Well, for me, it was a very personal story. This is both a kind of wide-angle story about the event, but for me, it was always a personal story growing up because I had an intimate connection to the Holocaust through my family. Not a direct connection, but a funny connection. And it began really because when I was a kid, all of my older relatives used to tell me that I looked like this great uncle of mine who had been killed.
Schmiel.
In the Holocaust, right, Uncle Schmiel. So it was very strange to grow up, you know, feeling haunted by this character, you know, and it wasn't very pleasant for me when I was a kid that all these old people would start crying, you know, when they saw me, and they would say, "Oh, you look like Uncle Schmiel so much," but it made me feel connected, and that was really the beginning.
Yeah, and in your family, this one gets from reading your book, you didn't talk much about the Holocaust or Shoah. It was, in fact, a taboo. Yet you knew that your relatives perished in the Holocaust. Why were you so determined on finding out the specificities of how they actually died? Because that seems to be one of your objectives in this book.
Well, yes, because, I mean, in a certain sense, it's both a personal consideration and a literary consideration. As a person who reads and reviews books and writes, you know, I know this is a subject that has been treated many thousands of times. So in a way, the only thing I can bring to this story is my personal connection, right? I'm not a historian. I'm not a scholar of the Holocaust. I'm a scholar of ancient Greek. You know, it has nothing to do with the Holocaust. But I do have this personal connection, and I think that the obsession with specificity, you know, with just the details, comes from the fact that there happen to be 6 people that I'm interested in, you know, so to speak. And I thought, well, if I can get the story of these 6 people, if I could track down the traces that they left, then that's a kind of a way of giving you an angle onto the larger event, but by sticking to the concrete. Sticking to things you can absorb. Nobody can think of 6 million. It's a number nobody can imagine.
Certain parts of your book, I can easily say that, are very rough and terrible. Yet I read somewhere that you have, in true point of fact, omitted the worst details. Why is that?
No, I don't. I mean, I think the details that I included are pretty harrowing. But I just thought, you know, a big part of this book is not about killing and death. Most of the book is not about death and killing and the Holocaust. The point of this book is, here were these people, and their lives were taken away from them. And I wanted to know, what were those lives like? So, you know, most of the book, in a funny way, it's not about the Holocaust. It's about trying to retrieve from the abyss, you know, what life was like, who they were. You know, I began by being interested in how they died, which of course everyone is interested, because the Holocaust exerts a kind of morbid fascination, right? But as I got into the search, I realized it was much more important to me to think who they were, how they lived, what was their life like, what was their personality like.
It's a personal story. Why do you think that so many people have related to a book which is basically the Mendelssohn's family story?
Well, I think precisely because it's a story about a family. You know, it's just a story about a family. And the horrible details, you know, are, yes, of course they have to be present, but I don't linger on them. And I only included the ones that are necessary. But, you know, I think people connected to this book because my grandfather used to say, everyone has a family and every family is crazy, you know. So everyone can identify. And also I think a lot of people at some point in their life become interested in their family history. Sometimes it's when you have children, sometimes it's when a relative dies, you know, and you think, who are these people? And I think so the idea of a person searching for the truth about the family is something we can all identify with.
But most people, unlike you, will know of the Holocaust as Shoah, as history, whereas to you it's obviously very specific. How do you feel when you encounter historical revisionism? Because that seems to be growing as a phenomenon. You know, people, historians, some of them, saying, no, not 6 million Jews were killed, not blah, blah, blah. How do you feel about that sort of, you could say, trivializing and denying?
Well, I think the Holocaust deniers, you know, there's only one reason that people are Holocaust deniers. It's because they hate Jews. They're not interested in history. They're interested in hating Jews. You know, I think that's very obvious. And all bad science is motivated by weird psychological elements. It's not about science, you know. So I mean, I think these people are crazy and dangerous, but, you know, if we continue to practice history in the correct way, we don't worry so much about them. But I think one always has to be pushing back against them, you know, and the only way you can push back against them is to write correct history. Someone
a couple of years ago suggested that Shoah, or Holocaust, was turning into Shoah business, show business almost.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Is that an imminent danger, you think?
Well, I think it is a danger, and I think this is a natural danger as a historical event recedes further into time. And it is no longer what living people remember, but just something that happened at another time. It becomes more likely that it will be the subject of these sort of vulgar, sentimental, trivializing notions. You know, there's a problem, you know, and it's very complicated because on the one hand, you want people, for example, to go visit Auschwitz, say, and look and see what was done and understand that. On the other hand, you know, if Auschwitz just becomes one more stop that you have to make on your tour of Poland, you know, then it's a little bit strange. And actually, in the book, I describe this very odd moment that to me exemplifies this, where we're sitting in Auschwitz, we're in Auschwitz, and I hear this girl next to me tell her friend, she says, oh, you know, if I don't get a bottle of Evian, I'm just going to die. And I just thought, that's the problem. You know, that's what happens when it starts just being another stop on your tourism.
Now, finally, the 6 persons here were not saved in life, but you've saved them in a sense from oblivion. What is the lesson one can extract, you think?
Well, I think it's a lesson about memory, you know, and remembering people and honoring the memory of people. I mean, you know, if I were very unsentimental, I would say, well, you know, my book does nothing for them. They're lying dead in a ditch someplace. But on the other hand, you think it has to be important because the people who killed them specifically with the intention of erasing not only their lives, but the memory. Right? They wanted to obliterate them from the historical record. So I think in that sense, the book is a kind of rescue mission, right? And that every scrap that I get, and it's not important things, you know, like this one was a big flirt in high school, or the mother had nice legs, or, you know, these little human details, each one is a kind of victory because they were meant to be destroyed totally. So anything you can bring back, I think, is meaningful.
Påsken